Larry, we're live at the Herd Building.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
I'm here with Natalie Ransom, and I'm Larry Cummings from Off the Map Games. And Natalie and I were talking this week. I'm very excited because this week is Fan Fusion, which starts tomorrow.
It's a big week.
I like to run games at Fan Fusion because it's literally like less than a quarter mile to my east. So I can just take all my stuff out of my office here at the Herd Building and walk my pointy little head down the street and play games with people from all over the state, all over the country. I've had international players at Fan Fusion. It's a very exciting event. It's one of my favorite events. But anyway, we were talking and we decided, hey, wouldn't it be fun to do an interview together?
Yeah.
Because I've been working down here and talking with Natalie for a couple of years now.
Couple years, yeah.
And in a weird way, we have a similar kind of thing going on. Like you're focused on building a community in a building.
Yep.
In the real world, to do real things for real people's lives. And I'm sort of building this idea of a community in people's heads.
Yeah, that's true.
That doesn't exist in the real world, so that they might be inspired to do real things in the real world, or at least be entertained, if nothing more. And so I thought it would be just fun to talk.
Well, I guess, we can maybe start with some official introductions. So as Larry mentioned, my name is Natalie Ransom. I am the Community and Sales Manager at Herd Building here in downtown Phoenix. We are a locally owned and operated shared workspace. So some people might know the concept more traditionally as co-working. I prefer the term shared workspace.
I do too. You talked to me about this about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I had come up, I've co-worked for a long time. And I was always interested in working downtown again, because I had rented an office from a similar, much smaller, well, it was early stages. Co-working was not a thing for a long time, and now it's really, everybody thinks they know what it means, but it's still really changing all the time.
Everyone thinks they can run a co-working
This is my favorite thing about this kind of business model, is people think, oh, I have space.
Yeah.
I can do a co-working.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, it's totally not that simple.
Not that easy. Not that easy. And I think
it's like I have dice. I can create a world.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding, what it takes not only to operate, a business like mine or what you do, but also misconceptions on what it means to build community.
This is what I've always enjoyed about our conversations, because I think that's our greatest passionate overlap, regardless of our backgrounds and our current jobs. Is the idea of community is just definitely important to both of us.
Yes. Yeah, community is a really hot topic right now. I think it's a trending term, community building. And what really is that, I think that when I was looking over the questions that you sent me, one of them I really liked, which was, I think,
what do organizations get wrong about community building?
Yes, I love that question.
I actually have to do that. Yes, it's really important to get your head around what people's perceptions and expectations are. And holy cow, they are so diverse.
It's true, but I think also where there might be a place that organizations get wrong with community building is that I think inadvertently a lot of individuals, a lot of organizations end up using community as a very self-serving sort of concept. And at the core of building community, it's about the community. It's not about you. It's not about your business. It's not about what you're building. Eventually, community building will provide a platform for that. But I think that is something that a lot of people get wrong about community building, is they see it as an opportunity, or they use it as an opportunity to sort of self-serve, right? And to put themselves on this pedestal, and it ends up creating a space where I think it can feel a little intimidating, right? Like traditional networking, I've always felt that traditional networking was intimidating because it just feels like a room of people looking for opportunity. And I think community building at its core is really about bringing people together, and it's not about you, it's about them, it's about us. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent way to think about like how like people approach. And it's an odd thing to ask somebody about. So that's the other thing that I find interesting about it is, like I've definitely noticed people that sort of approach community from a completely different perspective than I do, which is not that hard. We all have different perspectives, but like sometimes people are very guarded about like what their expectations are about community, because I think it's there's so many opportunities to be part of a community today. There is. And there's so many communities that are more sort of like related to a business relationship. I made a joke to a friend of mine in marketing a long time ago when all this was sort of starting up with all the interconnected, like social media and emails and all the sort of surrounding your customers with your brand kind of concepts. Yep. And I was like, sometimes I just want a gallon of milk. Like I don't really need to be, the member getting the valuable experience. I just want to get the thing. And it's actually, I think, right at that border. It is. That people sort of start thinking about like, how do I participate in community? And that's really what I'm usually interested in finding out, because I'm not here to make like the community better for you or for me. I'm here to make the community better for everybody. As a collective, right? Yeah. Right. And it's a weird thing, because like, it's almost like, I think it's a values alignment kind of a dance. It is. Like it's literally like, okay, well, like for example, anybody that's interested in renting at the Herd Building or playing a game with me, like has to accept some assumptions about the things that I value, or I wouldn't be running the game that way, or the building wouldn't be where it is. Right. True. And what a valuable building it is from a historical perspective. It's one of the older buildings in downtown. The oldest building in downtown. The oldest now. The oldest building in downtown. Yes. What about the mining building? The mining. Well, so it was actually the Herd Building was actually Arizona's first office building. Oh, you mean, I see. So not a public building. Correct. An office, not residential, commercial. A commercial building, privately owned. Correct. For leasing to businesses. That is correct, yes. First one. Oldest one. 1919. Wow. It's over 100 years old. It was the location of the Arizona Republic newspaper printing press. And by the way, that is one of my favorite trivia points about it, because my wife is a journalism person. She did her training, and she does writing for the state now. But anything that ties into journalism is just a win for me. It's so fun. Oh, it's amazing. And I think that it's really interesting that that this building served as that at its inception, because when you think about it, back in those days, in the early 1900s and the 1920s, what was the newspaper all about? Building community. Right. That was the only thing people had, right? That's why it's protected as the fourth estate, because like it's the first draft of history. It's the first collective reflection on what the truth is of our reality that we're living in. We get it wrong, we get it right, whatever. Like, but that's what's so exciting about journalism, is it's like. Anyway, I could go on and on. I know, we could be here for hours. The other thing about it, the building, architecturally reflects that a press was in the building. It does. Like you can tell that it was designed for a very specific purpose. And then obviously it's been modified for 100 years. And although after Arizona Republic moved out, the local Valley paper, New Times, was in here for a while too. Yep, and it was also where a lot of
local Phoenix radio stations got their start.
That's right.
So KTAR radio first broadcast out of this building in 1930. And the radio tower that is now on the Westward Ho was originally
on this building. Yeah,
yes,
you can see pictures
yes.
of that downstairs.
You can. So it's a lot of really cool history. I'm really grateful to be part of that and to welcome our community into this building and continue to build on really the foundation of what it was always meant to be. Right?
No, and the location's great. The improvements that have been done to the building are fantastic. It's just a wonderful place to work. I really enjoy it here.
Well, let's talk about off the map games. Yes.
Sorry. So I've been working on this for a couple of years now. Actually, at this building, I was in stealth mode for like a year and a half, but now I'm out. I'm like actively looking for players and entertaining people with my gaming services.
Have you got the website up yet?
No, it'll be up in hopefully the next 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. There's still a few things apparently that are waiting on me.
Was that strategic, like ahead of Fan Fusion?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had a website up for a while, but I wanted to really have a concerted target for, every summer's a big summer in gaming.
Yeah.
And Fan Fusion's right at the beginning of the summer, right at the beginning of Pride Month. It's just one of my favorite sort of celebrations of pop culture.
Events.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So every year at Fan Fusion, I have what am I going to do for the next 3 months? With my gaming. Even when I wasn't running Game Master services, I've never really stopped gaming. So,
What inspired the name Off the Map Gaming?
My wife came up with it, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Laura.
Shout out to Laura.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, she's very creative. I think I just liked it instantly when she said it.
It clicked. It was like one of those. You're yes, that was it.
And I think I've actually talked to people about why I run role-playing games and what I enjoy about things like world building and creating narrative arcs and everything. And I think the thing I enjoy the most about it is when things go in a direction nobody expected, and that's really kind of the idea in the name. And the other thing I enjoy talking about is there's a lot of games, and we're talking about games that you play in person, board games, but you can play online, I guess, where you've just never even heard of them, and some of them are wildly entertaining and super fun and really easy to play. And so because I'm always looking at games, people will often ask me two questions about pop culture. One is, what record are you listening to lately? That's probably the first one I get from most of my friends.
Your favorite question,
yeah,
truly.
It is, truly. And then the other is what are you playing? What games are you interested in lately? Because the games...
Or what would you recommend, right?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And the games that I play, that I run, are not all the games that I play. Because that would be... It would be impossible.
A full-time job times two.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have a lot of opinions about a lot of different games, and so we started off the map. I started off the map as a new way to talk about this new chapter of my career because I'm moving away from. I was working in collaboration technology, which was a lot of community building and tools in tech.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I started thinking, I've done this a long time now. I need to switch it up. And the closest match was gaming because it was still centered on community and collaboration and a small team. I also like small teams a lot. That's my favorite.
I agree. Small teams are really an opportunity to be more collaborative.
Yeah.
And it's just more efficient, I think, with a smaller group.
It's how humans sort of work together naturally,
Yeah.
5 to 10 people max, everybody. So
Which is interesting actually that you bring that up because I think that a lot of people hope and want through community building that they are going to attract these massive groups of people, that your community event is going to go viral and you're going to have 50 people show up.
What's the point of having 100,000 people if they're all not having fun?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think the best community events and the best community building are the smaller groups of people who are intentionally there and that share the same values like we were talking about earlier. I think that is one of the things that people get tripped up on the most. And I used to myself, like I would host community events and, I wouldn't get a huge turnout and it would just lead to like disappointment or feeling discouraged, like, oh man, like, is this even worth it? And then I think really in the last 6 months to a year, something really just shifted in my mind or clicked in my mind of like, it's not about the big groups. It's not about attracting, hundreds of people. It's about those who have chosen to support you and show up and participate and like focus on that. And that is building community.
I don't think I could have said it better myself. That's dynamite. That's exactly how I feel. Yeah. We intuitively understand that as human beings. Mm-hmm. But then when we get out in the world and we, sort of like comparison is the thief of joy.
It's because of social media.
It's not just social media, although a lot of it is social media.
A lot of it is.
Like we kind of come up with these fake ways of measuring whether or not we're having an impact or a valuable way of doing something, because actually having an impact and doing something is really, really hard. Mm-hmm. And it also happens in small ways, mm-hmm. a lot of tiny ways actually. And so when you look at like, oh yeah, we had a big event. We had like a flash mob or whatever. I don't know. Like that's important from a like a fun perspective, I guess. It's important from a connection perspective, because we do want to be part of a group that shares our values. Like as humans, we're just wired for that. But it's like, like the small groups are, I think, where the real value is, not just because, like they're more engaging and interesting and natural in terms of like why you have events, for example, but also because it's where the most impactful changes really are felt by individual people. You do a survey of a group of people coming out like a keynote address. Like I'm going to go over to Fan Fusion, and there's going to be a couple of panels I go to where there'll be like 500, 1,000
artist
people,
speakers, and
whatever,
or celebrity guests or whatever.
And I'll rate the event or whatever, like for that speaker session if I want to. But that's not the same kind of feedback and impact I would get if I went into a room, with 4 or 5 people and we really dove into a topic together. And so it's important, I think, especially when you're either like creating a community around entertaining yourselves by pretending to be adventurers on a quest, or like the real world, like you're investing your time and energy to go into a place to sit down with people and talk to them and work on something together. And the big picture is important, but the small, detailed group work is just where it all happens. And I just love that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Speaking of that, what's something you've learned about people from being a game master?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think it reinforced something I suspected early in my life, which was that I definitely agreed with the concept that people are basically good, but then when they get in groups, they can make really wacky decisions.
Okay.
And when you're in a game as a group and you're all sort of, like willingly suspending disbelief by pretending to be like a sorcerer or a rogue thief or whatever, different facets of your personality are brought to the fore.
Right.
You're always sort of playing yourself, which is, and it's actually worse for the guy running the game or woman running the game, because you've got to play all the monsters. You're just playing your own character as a player. But just how I think that the thing I've learned most about people is how much like excitement and passion people can bring out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
and they surprise themselves with it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It reminds me. My mom said something to me once when I was a kid, because I was a very reflective child, and I'm still very reflective. But I'm not shy though.
There's a difference.
Yeah, and she said, like I blurted something out in the middle of a big family discussion that just stopped the conversation dead because it was a very insightful thing to say. And she turned to me and she said, "Holy cow, still waters run deep," and it's a very similar sensation in a game where you're playing with somebody that you've just gotten to know, or maybe you've known them for years, who knows? But they're inhabiting this character, and you're creating this tense, dramatic moment for their character, and then they decide to do something. And what they decide to do can be absolutely stunning. And it's so exciting. And so yeah, it just reinforced something that I just really enjoy about people, and that people are all living their best lives, and they all have their own trials and tribulations, but oh my goodness, they can really surprise you if you give them the opportunity to let their light shine a bit.
You could also say that playing games is an opportunity for people or for you as a game master to recognize like red flags.
Oh
right?
yeah, well no, I mean, this is actually, there's a lot of vulnerability in gaming, role-playing games.
Yeah.
And people actually get a little sensitive about this, and I think I do a vibe check. If somebody's going to do let's play for an hour and a half, that's easy. I don't worry so much about it. But if we're going to play for like 3 months, I'm going to, I have to be very careful that I don't put them in a position where they're going to, maybe act in a way that they're later embarrassed about in a weird way, and I'm not saying I don't judge at all. I'm here for the pretend. This isn't you, this is your character.
How do you get to know somebody? Do you have a conversation with people?
You don't
know what you don't know. You know what I mean? How
boundaries are important.
Yeah.
So the first thing is recognizing that we're here to game together. I'm not in the sense that I'm the game master. Mm-hmm. I'm the one that's going to basically settle any arguments we have about what could really happen in the world.
Right.
But otherwise, I'm playing with you.
Right.
And I think some people get the perception that I'm somehow, or whoever is running the game is somehow, more powerful.
The leader of sorts or something.
And then they'll maybe project that in another way onto you. And I'm like, no, that's a boundary.
Yeah.
I'm just here for the game.
Right.
The second thing is that you have to really kind of, get into their backstory a little bit, their character's backstory a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you might nudge them here and there, but at the end of the day, I bring my own sort of sense of values and principles in terms of what makes role-playing games fun. And any game master does this. This is not an unusual practice. And you use a couple of different methods to keep the table safe and mm-hmm. comfortable and not trample on people's vulnerabilities when they kind of explore some facet of their character in a way. And the two I like the best are X's and O's. And X's and O's are you can give people a card, or you can just tell them wave your hand. But X means, no, I'm not doing that. And O means, okay, I'll allow that. So if you get in a weird situation where somebody starts talking about something that makes somebody else at the table uncomfortable, and some of these games get into some very weird themes, like cannibalism.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, whatever. I don't even, and I draw some hard lines on, I don't get into anything that's, any level of intimacy physically and anything that's, slavery related, stuff like that.
Right.
It's just, but if it's a pirate theme and there's zombies and technically the zombies
people are eating
dead,
people.
Yeah, it's are the zombies slaves? It starts to get a little bit judgy, and you're
sure.
let's back up and have a little fun. But so X's and O's works good, and then the other one is when you're storytelling, you can literally, it's like somebody's improvising in an improv club, and then they hand the conversation to the next person, and they have to plus it.
Yes, and.
And then, yeah, right.
Yes,
and then they go to the next person. That happens a lot at the role-playing table during social encounters. And sometimes people will yes and into a place where it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And so beforehand, you have a conversation that says, look, if your character's arc needs this thing to happen, we're going to say that's a shadow or a veil. A shadow is we don't even know about it, and it just happened, and it's fine. And
it's fine.
And a veil is Okay, and then we went off over here, and then we came back.
It could become something more.
Yeah, and it's like we don't talk about what happened behind that veil, but we all kind of understand that your character needed to go behind that veil.
Sure.
And then we just leave it there.
Okay.
And then and those are the two table rules.
Okay.
And then the underlying rule for all of it is the yes/no rule, which is basically we are playing characters in a game, and sometimes people will, play against each other a little bit in their encounter. Not so much hitting or stuff, but like just it's sort of like team dynamics.
Right.
You know? And at any point, if somebody's like, oh well, I'm going to ask my other team member to do this thing, they can just flat out say, no, my character would never do that. No, full stop. And they're like, they might have, this other, player might have this, hugely elaborate idea about how this all rolls out, and it's going to be great. But if every player is the only
set the boundary.
The only authority on what their character's about is the player playing that character. So if they say, no, my character wouldn't do that, that's it.
I really love that, and every time I talk to you, I feel like I learn more and more about like the concept of this sort of gaming in general, and I love the parallels between gaming and real life. Like I think it's so hard for people sometimes to, just the concept of boundaries in real life and being firm on that, and like being okay with like taking authority for yourself, for your person.
Right.
And I feel like immersing yourself into the world of gaming and like being open-minded to that can really teach you a lot about how to just like exist and survive in real life.
I'm living proof that that's true.
Yeah.
Like I literally I don't think I would have had the career I had in tech if I hadn't learned what I learned about myself
Through gaming.
playing games in my teens and 20s.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it was about the collaboration and the community stuff. That was the stuff I learned I was the best at. And it was in gaming, that's a very important activity, because frankly, it's hard to get people to the table sometimes. You have to make it, like a big, you have to work at it. And yeah, and so looping back to gaming towards the end of my career and focusing on it now, I think is even more important for me than I first realized. I thought it was just, this will be fun and relatively easy because I just love doing it so much. But I also started to realize that it was an extension of that collaboration focus of my career too, and especially lately. To me, there's a really huge value I get out of it, where I see the team of people actually start to see themselves and their friends a little bit differently when they're playing, and that has a lot of power for people. It really does. It's huge.
It does.
Yeah.
I think there is maybe sometimes a misconception. I'm sure you can agree to this. I'm sure you've seen it. Sometimes a misconception about like gamers, or especially in the D&D world, right? And like, these bunch of freaks, bunch of weirdos, right? Like, I don't know. I sometimes will like hear that or see that online of like, oh, they're just a bunch of gamers, right? But it's like, I think that based on what I'm learning through you about these worlds and the experience of gaming, I would argue that like gamers and especially like D&D or whatever other type of gaming, they're some of the most self-aware people, maybe. Would you
definitely have
that?
to get out of your own head to do a character justice.
Right.
And this is, not just for gaming. This is really any character you create in any context.
Yeah.
Like even if it's a social media persona or an AI bot or whatever, you have to infuse that character with real energy, or it doesn't happen. And yeah, we are a pretty nerdy, geeky bunch, for sure. I won the community award from the Phoenix Business Journal. Who, thank you again for that.
Congratulations.
Many years ago, and it was because of some of the work I was doing with youth programs to get some and the thing I learned from that was similar was that you have to. you have to have fun the way you want to have fun.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what other people think about
No.
how it looks from the outside.
No.
And the funniest thing about watching a group play a role-playing game is that it's almost an invisible game. The game is going on in everybody's head.
It is invisible.
Yeah, and if you
From
look,
as an outsider looking in, that can be
especially if you're
very
used to playing a
strange.
board game.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the start? I'm looking for the counters. Don't you guys, like have like cards, like, and you guys are all using different things.
Trying to quantify it, or like, you
So
know.
it's very confusing from that perspective.
It is.
And then the other thing is, it's mostly math. It's really
Yeah.
mostly math. Like, this is the weird
Yeah.
part, is like at the end of the day, and there's different systems that have different levels of complexity, but Dungeons and Dragons is my favorite because I think it's really just perfect. Like you can add or reduce the complexity so easily.
Right.
For me, anyway, I've been playing it a long time.
Sure.
But yeah, like I remember when I was in high school, and this is the late '70s, early '80s. I'm older. And Dungeons and Dragons was just having its first big product push. So it had been a very quiet sort of convention sort of game for, quite a while actually. But they were now, launching it as a really big,
More of a pop culture phenomenon.
Like with this thing, let's see what it can really do.
Yeah.
And so but in the early days, it was mostly guys. Big shock. It came out of the military simulation market, which that's kind of a male market.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then it was mostly a lot of work to set up because we didn't have computers and the internet back then. Everything was analog, and so you had to and by the time you got to the game, it was like, what are you guys doing, and so I would somehow get caught in the middle of this because I was the guy that decided how the rules were going to work for the table and then played with everybody. That's the game master's job.
So did you sort of establish yourself as a game master
No, but
early on?
I was always the guy running the games.
You were always the one running the games.
Because I knew the rules,
Yeah.
I mean, I would occasionally, go and I wouldn't be the GM and somebody else would be the GM. And I certainly enjoy that. I'm not like, I can only GM. There are some people that play that way.
They're very strict about that?
Well, not strict about it. It's just like it's the only way I have fun.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But I but the weird position I would get put in is I would have parents asking me, what's this weird new game my kid's coming home, and why is there all these
what's this weird new drug?
Yeah, what's this crazy art, all these weird monsters and everything. And some of them had real concerns from a belief perspective or something.
Morals and beliefs.
Whatever.
And whatever it is.
And I'd be like, well, you can come up and watch us. We're in your house. It's not like we're...
Come down to the basement.
Yeah, whatever.
Come check it out.
And some of them were like, no, I don't want my kid playing that, and he wouldn't be able to play with us. But the ones that would actually take the time to watch it, that was what they would always come away with, was I don't know what I was worried about. It mostly seems like a lot of math.
But that really circles back to my point of I just think there's a lot of misconceptions, and when you really give yourself the opportunity to understand this, all of this, it's a lot of layers, but it really comes down to gamers. I think are just some of the most, like I said, self-aware, just creative, and just think on your feet type of people that we need more of in this world, you know?
And people that rent in co-working or work share places too, the same way.
Yeah.
I think we both share that as community members, is that there's a level of optimism about either how much fun we can have or what we can do together in the real world.
Sure.
That's just built into putting that much effort into game or, coming to an office, because you want to work, somewhere besides your apartment or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a lot of fun. I think I've learned a lot today. This has been a fun conversation.
I have a fun question before we wrap it up.
All right.
So, if you could be trapped inside any game world for a month, where are you going and why?
Arda, Middle Earth.
Why?
Because it's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, so Middle Earth is, I run a Lord of the Rings game.
Okay.
I probably read The Lord of the Rings probably 7 or 8 times in my life.
Oh, wow.
Because it's just a book that I read when I read The Hobbit, and then I read Lord of the Rings, and I would just pick it up every few years and read it again. And then the movies came out, and everybody was into it. And Tolkien set out to create a world where, the mythology of England could be reinvented because it was lost with all the wars, the Danes and the Celts and everybody, the Romans conquering England. They lost their sort of folk, like lineage because it kept getting culturally replaced. And he did a wonderful job with it. And the thing I think that is most engaging to me about Tolkien's world is it's infused with magic of song. And I love
that.
music, yeah. So
that's awesome.
So like the myth of creation in Christianity, I'm a Christian man, is, like God spoke a word.
Yep.
And that word created the universe, let there be light, and all of...
it's about language, words.
All of Christianity, the power of God's force and will is delivered through word.
Yep.
And in Middle Earth, it's delivered through song.
Through song.
And I find that to be a little more entertaining.
Yeah.
and specifically, I don't know, probably Edoras, because I used to ride horses when I was a young man.
Okay.
And that's, Rohan. It's the capital of Rohan, where all the horse people.
All the horses.
Yeah.
And so what is that we can leave our listeners, our watchers with? What is one piece of advice, and I'll share mine as well, that you would give to folks that are looking to build community? What is one thing that you would say, one piece of advice you would give? How to build better community?
I mean, lead with love. Like, I think that's really the most important part of community, is that it's not, you're literally working on something where you don't know, you'll never really fully understand how it is perceived to be valuable to everybody that participates. It's sort of like you listen to a song, like you can play that song to 10,000 people, you'll have 10,000 different interpretations of what that song means. And so if you start your community because you're trying to achieve something tangible for yourself or your organization, you're not leading with love. You're not putting out there something that's going to benefit people you don't know in ways you don't understand.
I love that.
Yeah.
I would say my piece of advice for building better community, it's maybe a little bit more specific, but one of the things I always love to tell people or ask people, so when you are in a space, whether it's a networking event, a community event, a birthday party, you're in a space, especially as an adult, and you're meeting new people, you're potentially making new friends. Rather than asking people what they do for work or what they do for a living, ask people what they're passionate about. Ask people what they do for fun. I think that so often, when you ask this question of, oh, what do you do for work? It's kind of like, oh, I do this, and maybe that's not what they love, maybe that's not what their passion is, and it sort of just like ends the conversation there. But if you get people excited about, thinking about sharing what they love to do and what their hobbies are, what they're passionate about, that really like continues the conversation and provides more opportunity for you to connect with people that have, shared interests. And there you go. You've built community.
That's dynamite. That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
all right. Well, it's really been a pleasure.
Yeah. Yes.
Good.
All right.
Thanks,
Larry.
everybody.
Bye.
Please like and share.